Last week's show, we with Mr. Mency, who's not here tonight, we went way back to the great cinematic year of 1986 for Stephen King's Maximum Overdrive. And that film was so warmly received by the group, I decided to go right back to the well for tonight's movie.
Went down even deeper.
Oh, geez, 1986. I promise we're done with that for a while. Or are we? No, we are. We are. So hopefully we'll have better results tonight. We're also going back tonight to get things started on the cigar to the House of Emilio umbrella of brands. Last week we reviewed the very impressive Emilio AF1 Maduro wrapped cigar. We were all pretty impressed.
Yeah, I looked up on Atlantic Cigar. Mm-hmm. They're sold out.
I think Cigar Federation had some.
Did they?
There was a question in the show last week about the price point. It was $6 online,
right about
$6, which is amazing.
Atlantic had, I think, right at $5.58. Yeah,
I mean, for anything that you mentioned, Liga Privada as a comparison point, and with that kind of construction and smoke production and burn line and just really solid, bold, earthy flavors, under $6. I mean, how can you go wrong?
Yeah.
So that was a pleasure last week. We all really dug it. And we're going to sample something from the House of Emilio on the other side of the spectrum tonight, which I'll go ahead and introduce. It is the Nomad Connecticut Fuerte. The Nomad Cigar Company, which is distributed by House of Emilio also, bills this as not your father's Connecticut cigar. It promises a flavor profile that they worked really hard on to grab you and take notice of it compared to the more mild Connecticut cigars out there. And we just lit up, but I got to tell you, the idea of a Connecticut cigar with kind of a ballsy attitude, shoving other cigars around the humidor, just taking center stage and saying, "Notice me." I like the idea. I like the idea of playing with the Connecticut. It's kind of the wimp of the cigar world as far as strength.
I know a lot of people that love them.
Wimp not equating to unpopular.
Yeah.
I'm just saying it's
in terms of strength.
In terms of strength of it, it's definitely on the left side of the strength meter, and so I'm curious to see what they're going to do. It should be interesting. Quick background: it's manufactured in the Dominican Republic, Ecuadorian Connecticut wrapper, I believe Ecuadorian Habana binder, and Dominican and Nicaraguan filler tobacco.
Kind of all over the place.
These were submitted to us by Gary Griffith of House of Emilio. Throw that out there. We're very appreciative. But like last week, we'll give it our honest go around here because we don't know any other way.
Do you have an address for Emilio?
I believe it's houseofemilio.com.
Cool.
But they are distributing a lot of different brands under a lot of different blenders, and so I'm pumped. It's a beautiful looking cigar. It's a little bit darker shade Connecticut than it's kind of a medium brown, very vascular,
incredibly
like
a lot of veins, like
me.
Like Cody mentioned about me when we did the expendable stuff, how I kept getting more vascular. So yeah, so far the initial polls for me has got a little bit of strength for Connecticut, but very smooth. And I'm curious I'm going to try to slow down this week.
I'm not. I'm going to chain smoke all the way through this.
I can see it already. But when I gave Cody the 411 on what we were smoking tonight and kind of what they were going for it, I turned him loose on the O'Brien's tap wall. And what'd you find for us tonight?
This is the Karbach Brewery's Sympathy for the Lager, following in the theme of Nomads, and it's kind of goes down that whole, sympathy for the devil.
Pleased to meet you. Let me introduce myself.
Oh, God.
I'm a beer of wealth and taste.
Are you doing the Axl Rose Sympathy for the Devil?
I have no idea what I'm doing.
What that was.
So Karbach,
who we love. Houston's own Karbach Brewery.
Correct. We've had one of theirs before. They're vice versa.
Vice versa.
This is their lager, Sympathy for the Lager. Lager has kind of become the not the bastard child in terms of like craft beer. Lager's always been out there. It's what the major breweries have been carrying forever, and we basically just, you know, they turned it into light beer. I mean, it's
So lager is kind of a generic term for beer.
Yeah.
I mean,
in its own way, yes.
The majority of just the domestic beer you get is technically a lager.
And when you're trying to as an entrepreneur, when you're trying to enter a marketplace, the last thing you want to do is develop something that's kind of like your main competition. So the first thing that they want to try to do is get as far away from the main guys as possible.
A lot of them have done that, and I would say a lot. I should say the majority of the craft have done that. Some have realized lager's a strong beer. It stands on its own. It's been around forever. Most people can pick one up and tell you it's a lager. I can sit there. I can enjoy it. It's a lot of people. You know, a lot of the craft ones they've supposed to going back to like a lager for a lighter beer in comparison to some of the darker ales. They've gone to using like a blonde ale. You know, and I think that's still a hindrance. You're still drinking an ale. It might be the lighter of the ales, but you know, lager has its place. It's good. It's solid. To me, I mean, I will always drink a lager.
Yeah, it's good, tasty, especially in the summertime when the temperature heats up.
It does.
Correct.
It's kind of got that. At least this does. No, it's kind of like a maltiness. The lager, you can kind of taste the malts.
Oh yes,
a little sweetness to it.
Very sweet.
Growing up in a time before the craft industry really kind of boomed out there, this is what I would have said beer tastes like.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
It tastes like beer, lager.
And in Karbach use this one, they have, I mean, pretty much all the hops in here are German hops, noble hops. They're used several types of malts, Vienna.
Pretty much all German.
Yeah, they've tried to recreate that because that's.
Now, when you threw this at me, I looked it up, Mr. Leschiker, that this was an homage to Czech beers. Is that what is a characteristic of a Czech beer as far as what were they trying to? This is an homage to it. What were they? When you think Czech beer, what are your? Is it crisp? Is it is there bold strength to it? Like when you think Czech beer, what do you think of?
When I think Czech beer, I really think of Pilsner. That was the original style that came from that area. Pils, the actual town where Pilsner was reportedly to come from originally. So that when I think of Czech beer, or I think of, beer as we know it today,
right,
that's what I think of. Okay. That's where I would go first.
Okay.
So a heavy influence on the beer market.
Oh, yes. That area right there between, it's very close to the German border. Mm-hmm. And within those two areas, within Germany and Czech Republic now, that is sort of the birthplace of the modern, I say modern, within the last few hundred years, beer.
Right.
Were there Czech monks?
Perhaps. I don't know if that's exactly what they were.
There were guys sleeping around the church, but they may have just been sleepy guys.
Okay.
Now, what is I read a little bit. There was some flotation process they do with this to give it a real light bit. Something to do with the bitterness, I guess, to keep the bitterness low.
Some, yes. This one it's for the stats on this one, it's about 4.9%.
Oh, which is almost
ABV,
nothing. Huh?
And it's got 45 IB.
That's
IBUs.
a little bit more than Guinness.
So it's actually, I would probably say, kind of a little high for a lager. A lot of them try to keep the IBUs low.
Yeah.
I mean,
so by maybe raising the bitterness a little bit, you make it interesting.
You do give
a
it a
little bit
more
more
flavor.
of a flavor.
You give it a little bit more of a.
But that's also
indicative
indicative of the hops used. The German hops are, I would say, they have a little more kick to them.
Feistier.
A little feistier.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, the first few sips, it's really good.
Yeah.
Like I said, I from what little I know, I definitely get like a maltiness and kind of a sweetness there that I don't think we've really had in too many of the beers that we've.
And it's good because usually when you get into the sweetness of the stuff that we've covered so far, that comes from the citrus.
Yeah, there's no citrus
stuff.
whatsoever.
There's not. No, this is traditional good beer.
I do get a sweetness from it.
A citrus sweetness, or I don't get any citrus in this. I like with the torpedo and last week's.
No.
And last week's.
I would get you get citrus out of its aroma.
And the vice versa, I definitely got the sweetness from the banana.
Yeah, I just taste crisp, clean beer. I love it.
I think we've got a good matchup going here with the cigar because the Nomad so far is a very crisp, but much stronger than usual Connecticut. Like I'm getting a little bit more power in this than I do most. Granted, I'm not a huge Connecticut smoker. Cody smokes more Connecticut's than any of us.
This one definitely right in my wheelhouse.
Yeah, I figured you'd love it. The burn line is
it's burning
construction wise beautiful. What are you feeling over there?
I'm going to reserve judgment on it. First light, it tastes like a Connecticut. It's got a little bit more strength to it.
That's where I'm at, but it's pleasant. I'm liking it.
Yeah, it's not. It doesn't have I don't know. It doesn't have a bitterness of like a mid-tier smoke. So just by that, the construction, you're automatically putting it a step above that. But in terms of taste profile, yeah, you're right in the Connecticut wheelhouse. It's got a little bit more of a strength to it, a little bit more of a taste, but very similar to Connecticut's. I will say that if you like Connecticut's, you're probably going to be happy with this. That's why Cody is like, this is in his wheelhouse.
I'm getting a strong woodsy kind of feeling that maybe a little bit stronger than most. We'll see how it goes. We're just getting started.
Now, what I do like is that as the Texas weather heats up, you got the Connecticut leaf with the carbach there, the Sympathy, and it's a very light, entertaining smoke.
We'll see as a new homeowner. We mentioned this before. You're a new homeowner. We'll see how you feel about the Connecticut's.
Come August,
when you're doing lawn work, you may not be so inclined to reach for the dark, oily Nicaraguan at 4 in the afternoon when it's 120 balls outside. Connecticut's can be pretty good in the Texas summer.
You're totally right.
So keep an open mind. Trust me.